got some super thanks to start things off. These questions coming in outside of our live show. It says, Matthew Golden Comp is Darius Hayward-Bay. I get it from the speed perspective. I don't think that beyond that there was a ton of similarities with the way those two guys played. Hayward-Bay was crazy fast. He was also bigger, much bigger, frankly, than Matthew Golden was. Darius Hayward-Bay did play 10 years, by the way. You don't ever think of him as a 10-year player. Now, several of those years, almost half, he had less than 10 catches, but he did play 10 years. I think Golden is a better route runner. Not as big either as DHB. Hayward-Bay was not getting like round one buzz, then he ran super fast. Golden was getting round one buzz. Now, that came in via super thanks. We will always give you a shout out, just like we do for super chats, if you send in a super thanks. Allows you to donate outside of live videos. Click the thanks icon, edit your message, send in whatever you want to send in. So we appreciate your support here on the show. William Cook, $5. I know it's early, but what does the wide receiver class look like next year? In desperate need of a breakout. You can go look at like any of the mock drafts, the Waits early mock drafts. You see a lot of different names out there. You see both LSU receivers. You see, I've seen both USC receivers. I've seen Denzel Boston. I've seen Jordan Tyson. I've seen Nick Harbor, who is like the Moneyball clip of, he looks like a football player, runs like a football player, and just built like one. Well, if he's so good at football, why doesn't he play football good? Like, that's kind of what it is with Nick Harbor. Like, he's a freak athlete. He's huge, fast, but no production really. It needs a breakout. It needs somebody to emerge as even a Tetairoa McMillan caliber or even a Emeka Egbuka caliber. Like, it's somebody will emerge, but there's a lot of just like guys ready for the next step, and then a lot of guys in 2027 who are already better that are not draft eligible. Guys like Ryan Williams, Jeremiah Smith, Ryan Wingo is going to be great at Texas. I'm drawing a blank on one more name I'm forgetting. It's a fun class. Charles, is Jaydon Blue RB1 this year? I don't know if you're going to actually have an RB1 this year. This might be like hot hand on Sunday week 1 is different than hot hand on Sunday week 3, and all these guys get chances, and Deuce Vaughn gets a chance in the preseason, and there isn't like a typical RB1. Like, there's no prime Zeke, there's no prime Pollard, there might not even be a Dowdle from last year. Like, you might not have a 1,000-yard playmaker this year on the ground. You might end up with like 3 guys at 600. Which actually would, I think, be a pretty decent outcome. Like, maybe it's 500. Like, that might be more in line of like what you get. And you get some Turpin and Lamb rushes, and it's not a workhorse RB1. It's 1A, 1B, maybe even some 1C in there. I think this is going to be a true committee. So, predictions. I feel like we'll hit this one plenty of times this offseason. Who is the Cowboys' rushing leader in 2025? JW, MS, or JB, or Ofer if you think it's somebody else in there. Let me know in the comments of today's show. YVL Sosa. I think I was saying VYL Sosa earlier on the live show, which, I don't know. It's not what it says. I think the Cowboys sign Chubb and get Asante Samuel. Will McClay loves long arm corners, so probably not on Asante Samuel. I wonder how the medical checked out for Asante. Kind of surprised he's unsigned. He might go to a team where there's more like season-long playing time path. Gets a little numbers game when he gets like November for the Cowboys. Nick Chubb, Nick Chubb for me is, if you want to sign him, sure, but I don't know if he actually moves the needle at all. Prime Nick Chubb does. The guy last year was not productive at all, and he's coming off a second major injury. I don't know how explosive he's going to be. For as much grief as we give, the current running back room, I think it's a valid question if he's better than those guys, because he wasn't last year for as mediocre as Javonte and Miles Sanders were. You want to sign him, sure. I don't know if that really changes the outlook of your backfield room right now, just because of the play we saw last year coming off of the injury. Juan Ramos, is Allen Robinson a free agent? Yes. Is he better than Jalen Tolbert? No. Allen Robinson has been bad for 4 years. I think he had 30 yards last season. He hasn't. I don't think he has retired yet. That's pretty much where we're at. Kind of a early forced retirement there. Michael Crow, anything going on with Stephon Gilmore? Pretty quiet. I wonder if the drafting of Savone Revel means they're not going to go pursue that path anymore, because they're all outside corners, and I would prefer someone that can at least kick inside if needed him to. I wouldn't totally close the door yet on it, I wonder if Gilmore, again, is going to be looking for, like, when I get to November, is there a spot for me as a starter? Because in theory, Bland, Diggs, and Savone are all going to be healthy, and those are the three you want to play. And then Gilmore's kind of stuck, being the backup. So he might wait until, like, closer to actual training camp to sign, kind of like what he did last season. Today's show is made possible by Prize Picks. It is the best place to turn your sports knowledge into cash. With millions of members, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 2,000 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. The basketball playoffs are ongoing. Do not miss your last chance at your favorite players from the court to your Prize Picks lineup. Whether it's points, rebounds, assists, take your pick of more or less for that shot to up to 2,000 times your cash today. Not just hockey, not just basketball, not just baseball. They've also got season-long football Prize Picks slates. I like the CeeDee Lamb more than receiving touchdowns because, hey, there's still no wide receiver 2 as of filming. Breece Hall will be in a committee. I like the less than, plus Justin Fields will eat into those yards on the ground. Dak Prescott, if he's healthy, he'll get to the more than. Do the flex play, which means you can still cash out even if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money even if one of those picks does not hurt. So does not hit. Download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. It's Prize Picks. Run your game. Zach, does it seem like Jerry let the coaches make decisions in the draft, but Jerry takes care of free agency? Seems like coaches have no say in free agency. Thoughts? They are much more collaborative in the draft process. It's not the coaches making the draft picks, though. That's kind of more Will McClay's area. I think you saw it this year. They very much let the board do the talking. There's agreement, disagreement on the coaches and the front office stuff there. This was very much felt like more of a Will McClay draft. A super long-arm corner, another edge rusher in the second, best player available throughout. Like that felt like, front office early. I think, maybe there was input on Jaydon Blue. Fits with Schottenheimer once. Shamar James for like a Matt Eberflus pick. The coaches get say in free agency, but there's money issues in terms of how they spend. Like, Aaron Whitecotton was a big influence on Solomon Thomas to come to Dallas, right? So there is a lot of collaboration involved with that front office. Sometimes maybe too much so. Alvin Newbern, you have confidence that Coach Shoddy has a better feel of how to use these wideouts than Coach Mike? It's a really good question. I want to see. I'd see it first. It's going to be a modified offense. Like, can we stop calling comebacks and hitches every 3rd and 7? Like, that'd be great. That's been a staple for decades, it feels like. I want to believe that. I don't know how much more maximization of the receiving core you have. It kind of feels like a Kevontae Turpin-coded question, where can you get him involved? I hope so. If the answer is we asked him to do more like screens and drags and stuff as opposed to doing vertical shots with our 5'8" receiver, that feels like better usage. So yes, if that's kind of what we're aiming for, I hope so. Now we'll have more Cowboys news, rumors, mailbags, free agency, camp, etc. coverage. Hit that sub button if you haven't already. YouTube.com/@CowboysTV. Double O Sports. You think Luther Burden would have been the pick in round 2 had he been there? I think so. I don't know what their board looked like. I think there is the possibility that Ezeraku was higher on that board. Non-zero chance, too, that they were pretty closely compacted, and at that point, maybe they do edge out the need side a little bit. Nick Harris said that he thought the Cowboys would take him if he was there. That was pre-draft, and I don't think either Nick or I thought that Ezeraku would be there in round 2. But I think they at minimum would have had a real conversation about him. YVL Sos, you think Holden makes the roster or the practice squad? I don't think he makes the roster. I think both he and Josh Kelly are going to fight for a practice squad spot. As it sits right now, your roster players are Lamb's not going anywhere, Mingo's not going anywhere, Turpin's not going anywhere, Tolbert's not going anywhere. That's 4 at minimum. Will they carry 5 or 6? I don't know. That comes down to, I think Flanoy is probably your favorite for that 5th spot, if not, fighting for 4 or something. Then that's Jalen Brooks, Calvin Harmon, Seth Williams, Paris Campbell, Jalen Cropper. and then your UDFAs with Holden and Kelly. And the amount invested in those two guys makes me think they're fighting for a practice squad spot. King Carroll, what players would you have taken that were available if we did have that 4th-round pick? Good question. Let me pull up the draft results here. I want to make sure I don't screw that one up. And mention guys that went pretty early in that round. At that point, I think you're still looking for receiver and running back early in that time frame. Some of the notable players off the board there. If you had that early 4th, I would have loved Bashal Tutin, but he didn't last. So that kind of makes it tricky. Ironically, the pick used by Carolina was on a running back in Trevor Etienne. Noteworthy. Billy Bowman would have been pretty high on my board at the time. Jack Sawyer, but you already took an edge, so you're probably not going that route. Dylan Sampson was there in the 4th round. That one could have been a good pick for Dallas. Jalen Lane, Jalen Royals, 2 Jalens that were high on my board. So L.K.O. Manor, all those guys, Joshua Farmer, if you want a defensive tackle. Some of those guys would have been tops on my list.